on Expedition 18 after Discovery departs. Discovery will bring home current Expedition 18 flight engineer Sandy Magnus, who has been a resident on ISS since STS126 arrived at the station last November. Over the past year, one new connecting node, Harmony, and two new international partner laboratories, the European Columbus and the Japanese Kibo, have been added to the space station, expanding its capacity for science experiments. The S6, or Starboard 6 truss, with its set of large solar arrays, will complete the backbone of the station and help provide the power needed to support the new laboratories and its soon-to-be expanded crew of 6 astronauts. Once the segment is installed, the station's completed truss will measure 335 feet, more than the length of an entire football field. The two solar array wings each have 115-foot-long arrays for a total wingspan of 240 feet. They will generate 66 kilowatts of electricity, enough to provide about 30 2,800-square-foot homes with power. With the recent addition of the new laboratories to the station, getting the massive S6 truss out of the shuttle's payload bay presents a unique challenge.
We're looking at a very large payload. It weighs about as much as a school bus. That's about 40 feet long that we have in our payload bay. And so because of the configuration of the space station, we're not able to pick out the payload with the shuttle's robotic arm. So we'll actually have to use the robotic arm that's up on the space station.
So what we have to do is Sandy Magnus and I, driving the space station robot arm, will pick the truss up out of the payload bay. Then we will hand it off to the space shuttle robot arm. And they will hold it for us while the little railroad car that our robot arm is based on moves out to another position way out on the starboard side of the station.
It's at that point the station robotic arm can then re-grapple the truss and then maneuver to what's called an overnight park position, an ideal position for thermal reasons, where we're going to keep that truss segment overnight.
The first spacewalk will be performed on Flight Day 5. Swanson and Arnold will work with the crew inside to help install the waiting truss segment. Phillips, working at the space station's robotic workstation, will maneuver the truss into position and hold while the spacewalking astronauts make their way to the installation site.
Once we get there, we will direct John on in and give him any kind of guidance on how he needs to change the current attitude or position of it, so it's going to match up perfectly when it comes on into the S5.
It's going to be a lot like backing a car into the garage. John and Koichi will be flying the robotic arm, and we'll kind of be giving them directions. You know, come on back, a little to the right, a little to the left, and they'll go ahead and dock it, and then we'll go around, rotate, and drive some bolts and attach it.
The spacewalkers will then connect umbilicals, remove thermal covers, and release and unstow the solar array blanket boxes used to store the accordion-like arrays. They will then prepare the truss's photovoltaic radiator for deployment. On Flight Day 7, Swanson will be joined by Akaba for the second spacewalk of the mission. They will prepare batteries on the P6 truss for replacement on a later mission, deploy a cargo carrier attachment system, install fluid jumpers between the P1 and P3 truss segments, and deploy a payload attachment system to the S3 truss. It will be all hands on deck on Flight Day 8 as the astronauts take a break from spacewalking to deploy the new solar arrays.
John's going to employ basically the entire shuttle team as well as a couple of space station crew members to be focused on and looking at various points on the solar array wing as we deploy it.
We got 12 TV monitors up looking at different views. We got 1 guy on the shuttle, 6 guys on the station, and it's a big team effort.
Once the arrays are fully deployed, the crew will turn its attention to preparations for the third spacewalk on Flight Day 9. On this spacewalk, Akaba and Arnold will relocate a small platform known as a CETA cart that moves along a rail system attached to the station's truss. The cart will be used with the future truss battery replacement activity. Arnold will then reconfigure one cover on the Canadian Special Purpose Dexterous Manipulator, Dexter, and remove another cover from one of its electronic units. When that task is complete, Arnold will lubricate one of the 2 end effectors of the space station robotic arm duplicating the work on the other robotic hand conducted by spacewalker Shane Kimbrough during the STS-126 mission. The fourth and final spacewalk will take place on Flight Day 11, as Swanson and Arnold install antennas and prepare 2 more payload attachment systems to the S3 truss segment. They will then collect detailed imagery of a radiator blanket on the S1 truss that is slightly ajar.
The astronauts are the lucky people who get to ride the rocket. We've got the glamour job. We get our names in the paper. We have a lot of fun. But for every one of us, there are 1,000 people who are just as educated or skilled or diligent or dedicated to their work.
It's pretty awe-inspiring to go and visit all the folks that end up working on the space shuttle and space station programs. It's a big team.
It's an honor to meet these folks. They shoulder a big load. The safety and success of every mission is on their shoulders, and I'm very appreciative for all the good work that they do for our program.